There is a chemical inside your body right now that determines how you sleep, how much you weigh, how clearly you think, how deeply you feel, and how quickly you age. It is not a drug. It is not something foreign. It is something your own body produces every single day. It is called cortisol, and for millions of people living in the modern world, it is quietly running at dangerous levels without a single obvious warning sign. Cortisol is a steroid hormone produced by the adrenal glands, two small triangular organs that sit on top of your kidneys. According to the Mayo Clinic, cortisol is often called the stress hormone because it is released in direct response to perceived threats, fear, pressure, and danger. But cortisol is not inherently evil. In fact, it is one of the most essential hormones in the human body. It regulates blood sugar, controls inflammation, manages blood pressure, influences the sleep-wake cycle, and fuels the fight-or-flight response that kept early humans alive. When a predator appeared thousands of years ago, cortisol flooded the bloodstream within seconds. Heart rate surged, muscles tensed, digestion paused. The brain narrowed its focus to one single goal: survive. That response was brilliant. It was perfectly designed for short bursts of danger, followed by long periods of rest and recovery. The problem is that the human nervous system was never designed for the world we live in today. The modern human brain cannot distinguish between a lion chasing you through a field and a passive-aggressive email from your boss at 11 at night. To your nervous system, both feel like threats. Both trigger the same ancient alarm system. Both flood your body with cortisol. And unlike the lion encounter that ends in minutes, modern stressors never stop. Financial pressure, relationship conflict, social media comparison, work deadlines, news cycles, loneliness, and sleep deprivation create a state of continuous low-grade threat. The National Institutes of Health describe this condition as chronic stress, a prolonged activation of the stress response that keeps cortisol elevated far beyond what the body can safely manage. According to research published in PubMed, chronically elevated cortisol begins to damage nearly every system in the body. The immune system weakens, inflammation increases. The hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and emotional regulation, actually begins to shrink. Harvard Medical School researchers have documented that long-term stress exposure rewires the brain, increasing activity in the amygdala, the fear center, while reducing activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for rational thinking and emotional control. Your body thinks you are in danger all the time, and it is responding accordingly at enormous biological cost. The signs of chronically elevated cortisol are everywhere, but they are rarely connected to stress because they look like ordinary modern complaints. Stubborn belly fat that will not move no matter how much you exercise is one of the most documented symptoms. According to the Cleveland Clinic, cortisol drives fat storage specifically around the abdomen because visceral fat cells have more cortisol receptors than fat cells elsewhere in the body. Fatigue that sleep does not fix, brain fog that makes simple tasks feel impossible, insomnia that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning despite being completely exhausted. These are all hallmarks of a nervous system stuck in overdrive. Anxiety, panic attacks, and a constant low hum of dread are neurological consequences of a brain marinating in stress hormones. Hair thinning, jaw clenching, digestive problems including bloating and irritable bowel syndrome, skin breakouts, and a weakened immune system that catches every passing illness are all documented physical responses to elevated cortisol levels. Johns Hopkins medicine notes that chronic stress suppresses immune function by reducing the production of lymphocytes, the white blood cells that defend the body against infection. Emotionally, the damage is equally severe. Emotional numbness, depression, burnout, low motivation, hormonal imbalance in both men and women, and a feeling that is best described as wired but tired, alert but completely depleted, are all signs that the adrenal system is overwhelmed. Memory problems emerge because cortisol literally interferes with the brain's ability to consolidate and retrieve information. People begin to feel disconnected from themselves, from joy, from purpose, from the people they love. Social media platforms are engineered to trigger emotional responses. Every notification, every scroll, every comparison activates a small stress response in the nervous system. Doom scrolling through negative news before bed floods the brain with cortisol at the exact moment it needs to begin winding down. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production, disrupting the sleep cycle and keeping cortisol elevated through the night. Processed foods, high in refined sugar and industrial seed oils, trigger inflammatory responses that mimic stress signals in the body. Caffeine, consumed in excessive amounts by the majority of working adults, directly stimulates cortisol secretion. A study published in Psychosomatic Medicine found that caffeine can increase cortisol levels by as much as 30%. Financial stress, which affects the vast majority of adults according to the American Psychological Association's annual stress report, creates a near constant state of threat perception. Toxic relationships, emotional suppression, overworking, and chronic sleep deprivation all compound the cortisol load until the nervous system has no capacity left for recovery. The human brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to process a relatively small amount of information and social interaction per day. Today, the average person consumes the equivalent of 174 newspapers worth of information every single day. The nervous system was never designed for this level of stimulation, and it is breaking down under the weight of it. Stress eating is not a weakness, it is biology. When cortisol rises, it signals the brain that the body needs fast energy to survive the perceived threat. This triggers intense cravings for sugar, refined carbohydrates, and high-fat comfort foods because these foods rapidly raise blood glucose and temporarily calm the stress response. Harvard Health Publishing explains that cortisol increases appetite and specifically drives cravings for calorie-dense foods as part of the survival mechanism. At the same time, cortisol suppresses dopamine sensitivity over time, meaning the brain requires more stimulation to feel pleasure. Food, particularly sugar, becomes one of the fastest and most accessible dopamine triggers available. Nighttime binge eating is especially common in chronically stressed individuals because cortisol naturally dips in the evening, creating a window where emotional hunger and dopamine-seeking behavior intensify. The guilt that follows creates another stress response, which raises cortisol again, which triggers more cravings, completing a biological cycle that has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with an overwhelmed nervous system searching desperately for relief. The path back begins not with dramatic overhauls, but with small, consistent signals of safety sent to the nervous system every single day. Magnesium, which the National Institutes of Health identifies as essential for over 300 biochemical reactions, directly regulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system that controls cortisol release. Most adults are deficient. Walking in nature, even for 20 minutes, has been shown in studies published in Frontiers in Psychology to significantly reduce cortisol levels and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state that counteracts chronic stress. Deep diaphragmatic breathing activates the vagus nerve, which sends direct signals to the brain that the body is safe. Morning sunlight exposure within 30 minutes of waking helps regulate the cortisol awakening response and anchors the circadian rhythm. Protein-rich breakfasts stabilize blood sugar and prevent the cortisol spike that accompanies glucose crashes. Reducing caffeine, particularly before noon, allows the natural cortisol curve to function without artificial amplification. Journaling, therapy, prayer, and meditation all reduce activity in the amygdala and restore prefrontal cortex function. Stretching and gentle movement release stored muscular tension that the body holds as physical memory of unprocessed stress. Reducing screen time, especially in the 2 hours before sleep, allows melatonin to rise naturally and cortisol to fall. These are not luxury habits. They are biological necessities for a nervous system that has been running on emergency power for far too long. The body wants to heal. It is designed to heal. It simply needs consistent permission to stop surviving and finally begin recovering.